Hey, welcome back to Dockside Chats. I'm Mike Guzzardo. This is Jim Mattison. And I've asked Jim to come here today to talk about the delta issues we have. Just like if you have a house on a farm, you're dealing with weeds, insects, and etc. Here on the delta, we have our own things. We've got insects and we've got raccoons, we've got river otters we deal with, but also we've got some water weeds and some algae issues. And Jim's been great about getting all the different parties together and talking about the water issues from the state to the feds. You pulled in some people from Israel. He'll talk about that in a second. We got a great pilot program going here. But for a place as small as Discovery Bay, we're actually quite lucky to have all the resources available we have to deal with the water issues. And really, none of these water issues matter if you're getting in your boat and you're just taking off to go somewhere for the day. We're talking mostly about if you kind of want to hang out, swim at your dock and hang out, you want kind of a clean bay. You don't want a bunch of algae, you don't want a bunch of weeds all over the place.
Well, the blue-green algae, like Mike was pointing out to you, we are doing a pilot program on Willow Lake right here in Discovery Bay. So we basically, working with Reclamation 800, the top scientists from USC and UC Davis, working with the Central Valley Water Board, and again, some top scientists from Israel as well. We got a company. So we are using a formula in the lake. It's a sodium percarbonate, which basically will release hydrogen peroxide. What that does is it goes after the bad algae, which is the cyanotoxins, which are poisonous and deadly, and leaves the good algae behind. So we're working right now for a 3-month experiment. At the end of the experiment, I wouldn't even call it an experiment, a program. We know that the program is going to be working. Then we can look at using the same product in all of our 32 bays that we have in Discovery Bay to help with the blue-green algae issues that we have in all of them. Then it comes down to how much it's going to cost and who's going to treat it and all that kind of stuff. But starting one area at a time, we're starting at the lake and we're working our way down this way.
That's fantastic. And then on the weed issue, we got, you said to me earlier today before we started recording, seven or so.
We have about, yes sir, we have about 7 different kinds of weeds that the Department of Boating and Waterways dealing with here in the Delta. And of course, they've got 65,000 acres of waterway that they deal with. Now we're talking about just in our bays, all told in our bays, east side and west side, we have about 525 acres of waterway. On the west side, where we have most of the problem, is about 335 acres. So on the 335 acres on the west side, including Lido Bay, we have 2 types of weeds that we're dealing with right now. One of them is the Algae densa that we've had forever and ever and ever.
That's the aquarium plant that grows from the ground
correct.
Up, correct?
And now we have another one that grows from the ground that just entered into our bays a couple of years ago. It's a Sega pondweed. So you guys will look at that and you'll notice it looks like spaghetti. And our bays are filled with that right now. So now we have to come back with another treatment. Right now we're using Endofol, and we're going to get some of that in here, just more systemic, and hopefully it'll take care of that. But for every time something leaves, there's something that takes its place. So it's an ongoing battle, but we're here to help and see what we can do to keep our bays clean.
It's awesome what you've been doing. Jim's a great Delta protectionist. A lot of us have formed groups to fight tunnels and do this and that, but Jim's been there day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, working with the different stakeholders and parties in the government to make sure that we keep this a great place for generations to come, which really should be appreciated and understood. The interesting thing about all this is that there's some areas of Discovery you really don't feel the effects of much of this at all. And then some areas you really do, and it changes. So that map can change on where things are from month to month and year to year. So you kind of just have to look around and identify what your issues in your water are, if anything. And if you do have any issues, how should they contact you?
Well, if you guys are on Facebook, we have our very own Facebook page that totally deals with our Delta and our bays. That's DB Bays. Facebook page is called DB Bays. So you can go on there, you can upload some of the pictures, talk about your bay, what's the matter with it. That's how a lot of us are talking about our issues right now. It's a good central forum. If you don't have Facebook, you can always email me directly at jim@dbbbays.com. DBCF stands for Discovery Bay Community Foundation, dbcf.info. And you can send me pictures of your water at low tide, if you have some blue-green algae issues. I, in turn, accumulate all the information. I work directly with the Department of Boating and Waterways on a weekly basis, so we can get them out here and they can handle the bays a little bit more succinctly once they know exactly what they're dealing with on a weekly and a monthly basis.
Well, thank you for doing everything you can for the Delta, my
You're
friend.
welcome, Mike. Have a good week. Nice seeing you out there on the 4th of July, and I'm sure we'll see
Absolutely.
you on the Delta sooner than later.
All right, see you next time on Dockside Chats.